Welcome to Chapter 3 of the Literary Analysis of Illusions. At the beginning of Chapter 3, Richard has this dream, and it says, "Throngs and masses and crowds of people, torrents of humanity pouring against one man in the middle of them all. Then the people became an ocean that would drown the man. But instead of drowning, he walked over the ocean, whistling, and disappeared. The ocean of water changed to an ocean of grass. A white and gold travel air 4000 came down to land on the grass, and the pilot got out of the cockpit and put up a cloth sign, fly, $3, fly." So the beginning of this chapter, we have Richard, who has this dream of Donald Shimoda's life, basically, right? He has this dream in which all these people are surrounding him, asking him to please save us, please save us. And Donald Shimoda sort of gives Richard this dream so that Richard can understand who Donald Shimoda is without having to go into this long exposition of, oh, I'm this guy, I'm a mechanic, I'm a savior. Instead, Richard wakes up and he says, now you know who I am, right? And Richard says, I do remember that. Had read it on some small-town Ohio newspaper back because it was on the front page, right? This mechanic messiah is what they had called Donald. So now Richard has this understanding. He kind of knows who Donald is. And it comes through a dream, which I think is very interesting because I'm sure a lot of you have had dreams that you think are premonitions, that mean something. A lot of us try to interpret our dreams, and some of us can even control our dreams. After that scene, Richard poses this very interesting question to Donald Shimoda. Are you allowed? I didn't think you get a job like that, the Messiah, that you're supposed to save the world, aren't you? I didn't know that messiahs could just turn in the keys like that and quit. I sat high on the top, cowling of the fleet and considering my strange friend. Which I think is a very interesting question. Can a messiah just quit? If Christ had just walked away and quit and said, I'm not here to save you, what would his life have been? Would he have just returned to carpentry, been a farmer, married, had a wife and kids? All this is posed in this movie, The Last Temptation of Christ, which I think is also a book where before Christ dies on the cross, the devil shows him another life, what his life would be like if he chose to walk away from being a messiah. If we were to wake up tomorrow and realize I'm the Messiah, I'm the savior of humanity, I'm here to bring the message of God, I mean, how many of us would actually want that job, right? For sure, Donald Shimoda doesn't. He didn't like any of that, right? So I'm going to continue reading some of the passages from this chapter. He responds to Richard by saying, of course you can quit. Quit anything you want if you change your mind about doing it. You can quit breathing if you want to. So I quit being the Messiah, and if I sound a little defensive, it's maybe because I'm still a little defensive. Better that than keeping the job and hating it. A good Messiah hates nothing and is free to walk any path he wants to walk. Well, that's true for everybody, of course. We're all the sons of God, or children of the is, or ideas of the mind, or however else you want to say it. And then, of course, Richard responds with, well, yes, Don, but it seems as if messiahing would be different from other jobs, Jesus going back to hammering nails for a living. Maybe it just sounds odd. And it does, right? Because if Muhammad had decided, I'm not going to accept this knowledge, nor am I going to write this book, or if Buddha had said, I'm not going to walk this path of enlightenment, or Moses, I'm not going to free my people, I don't mind being a slave of the Egyptians, I don't mind the life that I live here. Why is it that on me? Moses never reaches the land of milk and honey, right? He just leads the people out in Exodus, right? And Don keeps pushing this idea that look, we're all the children of God, or the children of the is, or the children of the, or the idea of the mind, however you want to state it, right? Not just sticking to one specific religion, but whatever religion that you believe in or whatever your beliefs are, right? We're all in the same light. And anybody, according to Don, can be a Messiah, can be a savior. You don't have to be born under a magic, I don't mean magic. You don't have to be born under, a given set of stars that's going to represent who you are for the rest of your life. Under a specific sign, right? Oh, the next Messiah will be a Virgo, and I'm not born a Virgo. What he's suggesting to Richard is we are all Messiahs, all of us. What do y'all think of that? Are we Messiahs? Are we saviors? Certainly we've helped people along the way in our lives. You may not have even known it, but you've helped somebody, right? And Donald goes on to describe why it is that he decided to leave being a Messiah, why he decided to walk away from this idea of being the Savior. And he says, it's not me they want, it's the miracles. And those I can teach to somebody else. Let him be a Messiah. I won't tell him it's the dull job. And besides, there's no problem so big that it cannot be run away from. Right? And I want to stick with that. There is no problem so big that it cannot be run away from. What do you think of that? This idea that you can just run away from your problems, just up and leave. And if you think about it, we truly are that free. I mean, right now, for example, we're stuck in isolation. We're all part of this stay-at-home order for the COVID-19. But it's on our own free will that we choose to participate in it. In reality, any of us can get out of our house, go look for a crowd of people and just run into the middle of it. Right? In reality, we can go and hug our family members that we haven't seen in 2 months, 6 weeks, however long it's been, and go to each of their houses and hug them. It's our free will to do that. But we choose instead to stay isolated by our own free will, which is, I think, very interesting, right? Recently, there's a quote of Elon Musk talking about this, saying that it's, if the government demands something, it's very different than if we choose it on our own free will. And if we choose to self-isolate, that's because we made that choice, not because someone else has made that for us. I think a large part of our lives, we feel as if though we're told what to do and how we have to live life and what path we have to follow. And it's okay to follow those paths, but we have to be self-aware that we are choosing to follow that path. I know a lot of you who are listening to this are in college because that's the next step. That's what you've been told your entire life. You better get good grades in high school because then you got to go to college and get good grades there. And if you don't go to college, you fail miserably. Or we're in college because our parents want us to go. I didn't get a chance to go, so I'm sending you to college. Now you better do good. But in reality, that's not what calling to us. But in reality, that's not what we want, what we're passionate about. And yet we find ourselves there. We need to become self-aware. We need to be at a point where we can say, I am here taking these classes because I want to learn to enrich my own life, because there's something that I want to understand. And these people, these professors, are the mentors who are going to teach me what I need to understand about myself, about life, about knowledge, about business, whatever your path is taking you toward. And so, towards the end of this chapter, he asks him, Richard asked Donald, did you have the whole show like you see in the movies from India? Crowds in the streets and billions of hands touching you, flowers and incense and golden platforms and silver tapestries for you to stand on when you spoke? No, he answers. Even before I asked for the job, I knew I couldn't stand that. So I chose the United States, and I just got the crowds. Which is very interesting, right? Because he says here, even before I asked for the job, as if you get a choice, right? Before you're even born, you get to choose what kind of life you're going to live, what kind of life you're going to experience. And you're going to see that this is a theme throughout the entire book, that we get to choose this life that we're in. And I know some of you are asking, well, look, I've had these tragic things happen to me, or I know people who've had these tragic things happen to them. Did they choose that life? Does a child choose to get cancer? And you'll see in the coming chapters how Donald Shimoda answers this question, right? And it leads back to what I was talking about in an earlier video about what makes us happy. What is it that we're searching for in this life? All right. Thank you all for listening to this analysis of Chapter 3. We will continue with Chapter 4 in the next video. Thank you.